Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It is about 9:39. We're going to take a look at the forecast here for the remainder of tonight. Should be some storms around. And we'll also detail what your outlook looks like for tomorrow, because we're going to be dealing with severe storms likely in both periods. So you've come to the right place. We'll show you the science behind the madness, and we'll tell you what's going to happen in your neck of the woods. So thanks for checking in all over the place. I see you out there on YouTube world, Facebook world, Twitter X, Rumble. Glad to have you. Love you when you check in and tell me where you're watching from. That we get a good idea how vast we go, how far we cover out there. Sometimes you watch me from other parts of the world. You guys are bored on your vacation. All right, or you're just checking in back home to make sure your house doesn't get blown away. I can see it go both ways. All right, let's see. Make sure everybody got on the line here. Oh, let me put the little links in the chat windows as well for you. That way you can get some information that way. Good to see you guys on YouTube chiming in as usual. All the usuals in the house. And, of course, on Facebook. Put my little links in there as well. That way you can join the Facebook broadcast channel for my Facebookers. Make sure you do that. I'm probably going to be phasing out the third option, which is the opt-in weather updates. That goes through a ManyChat system, which is a third-party deal. It's expensive, and Facebook keeps cutting out a lot of the options on it. And ironically, Facebook and ManyChat were once in partnership because Facebook didn't really have the function that they really should have had. So ManyChat had it, and then now that Facebook is developing it, they're kicking ManyChat to the curb. So I don't want to pay for something that's going to be kicked to the curb. So eventually that opt-in weather updates is going to be sidelined, and I'll send a message out on it when it is time for that to happen. But till then, you can join the Facebook weather broadcast channel. It's still in beta form, I think, and it's not for all creators, and it's not for all accounts. So if you can't get in yet, it's not my fault, it's Facebook's, but they may get around to it later. All right, so let me see here. What do we got going on for us right now? Let's take a look outside. You see some clouds out there? I do. We just missed a good sunset. Anytime you have a little bit of cloudiness around, it always makes for a nice sunset around here. So it's always good to see that. Now, as far as rainfall goes, we do have some storms out there, but they're way down to our southeast. So they're out here into Louisiana, southern Arkansas, eastern Texas. So that's where all the action is here for this evening. Rounds of heavy rainfall and some severe weather. It's cleared out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I think Dallas and Rockwall, for example, had some heavy rain earlier this evening. And if you look here across Oklahoma itself, right now things are dry. What you see here, this little blue area, a little bit of green, it's just moisture showing up. Sometimes also bugs and insects. But we call this clear air mode. All right, so this is basically a clear air pattern. It's very sensitive. I like it because I can see little fine lines that move around in the environment if there were to be some, for example. You can do that by just animating the radar loop. Plus, you can just look for other little neat things that can show up that may be an indication of some developing shower. So anyway, so I like to have the radars a little on the sensitive side, showing me all the data. And out here across west, we did have some storms in the Panhandle, but they fell apart. They did not make their way into Oklahoma, so that was good news. So that severe weather threat that was down here across southwest Oklahoma did not pan out because those storms could not sustain themselves. That's fine by me. But some elevated storms are in the forecast here for tonight. So in those, should they develop, are probably be some big hail makers. We're talking like 2-inch size hail, golf balls a little bit larger. Now temperatures out there today, because of the cloud cover and those morning to afternoon storms, stayed much cooler across the east, so only mid-70s, even some low 70s. Stewart looks like takes the cake for a high of only 71. We rebounded up to around 80 degrees here in the metro area. Back out into the 90s, though, out in the western Oklahoma, like Hooker, 91. And then, let's see, down here in southwest, Hollis hit 92, looks like, for the state hotspot here on the Mesonet map. All right, now if you look at the wind field values, we have these little barbs here out of the red, so they're kind of all in a southeasterly direction. So we have a southeast wind. Dew point values in the green are into the mid to upper 60s. Not overly juicy as far as the environment goes. However, if you were to step outside, you would argue with me. It's disgusting. I'm not ready for this. I don't know if you're ready for it. I ain't ready. It's just gross, man. I just don't want that Houston air up here. Here's a look at the satellite viewpoint on the infrared. There's those hints of the storms out here in the Panhandle that started to get going, but then they fell apart, and this is the cloud cover residual left over. And then we've got some cloudy dust still lingering over central Oklahoma, and we're going to have some enhancement, I think, develop as we start to get some thunderstorms get going. Probably the next couple of hours. It's going to be hard for the starting time, but it's the window opens up really starting about 10 o'clock onward. As far as severe weather goes, the new shaded area here for the remainder of tonight is across central, southern, and eastern Oklahoma, so it's a slight risk. Now, they don't have a tornado risk for that overnight because we have a very strong cap in place, so that means the storms tonight would be elevated in nature. Here's a look at the wind, however, so this is kind of outlines where the other yellow map was, so this would be for some damaging wind overnight. And then this right here is for the hail, so also kind of a shaded area where they're having a few reports of some decent sized hail. Like I said, golf ball size for sure. And as we head into Tuesday, just a broad area of a marginal risk of severe weather. They don't even have us in the slight, but I think that's a mistake. They might as well just have a slight down here. We'll look at the AI model here in just a second. Speaking of which, we do have a mesoscale discussion for the threat of severe storms over central, eastern, and southern Oklahoma for later on into the overnight period. So they kind of highlighted this little zone where they're interested in the outcome. So they went ahead and painted the picture here for you for, again, a low, very low tornado threat, almost non-existing. You never want to say nothing this time of the year, but it's pretty close to nothing. But otherwise, big wind, big hail for any storms that do manage to fire up. And that extends out here into southeast Oklahoma overnight into the daybreak hours as well. If we look at the AI models for tomorrow after tonight's events, this will be the redevelopment into tomorrow afternoon and evening. It does kind of favor a little brown area of a tornado potential here across the eastern half of Oklahoma. Kind of stops here about the I-35 corridor for the brown shading, otherwise green elsewhere. This is for the hail, and this is for the wind. So basically, the AI models think that any storms that do go up will have a potential for those involved because we have some extreme instability. Let's take a look at the NAM model as far as the jet stream pattern goes. Where we're going to focus on, if you're new here, you're like, I don't know what this map tells me, Aaron, what are you talking about? Well, I show this map all the time. Basically, what you look for, this is the mid-levels atmosphere. We talk about the jet stream track, and we're looking for these big areas of color that represents lift in the atmosphere. All right, so that's what we call our upper-level disturbances. And sometimes you get really strong ones like this one or this one. Otherwise, you get little weak ones, like these little colors in here. They kind of yellow, a little bit orange, so they're more subtle. But the point is, anytime you have these kind of moving through your area, they can help trigger some showers and storms. Now, as we head into Tuesday afternoon, here's a big line of lift right here from Kansas that dips into central and western Oklahoma. So that should be a good kickoff for us. That's kind of the tail end of this broad trough axis. So the axis kind of kicks in kind of like this. So you have lift all along that area, even though the upper level low is up here in Canada. It's over Manitoba, as a matter of fact. It's over here in south central Canada and near Winnipeg. So that little storm system can give them some action up there as well. And they do get severe weather, by the way, across the central and northern plains, and even sometimes into southern Canada as we head into our mid to late summer. All right, anyway, so that's our little wave here for tomorrow evening. You can see the enhancement you start to see here on the map where you get those little extra colors showing up. That's where the model has indicated that it has convected because of some storms. All right, so that moves on by, and that's on Wednesday now. So we're kind of a quiet zone for Wednesday. You will notice our atmosphere is changing in the upper levels. We now have a ridge of high pressure, and what that does is that causes our jet stream winds to flow around the high and back down to the south and east, as we call this a northwest flow. So sometimes we get these thunderstorms that then develop, if we get some instability, in a trigger mechanism like around eastern slopes of Colorado. And then those things will dive southward during the overnight, early morning periods. Just kind of depends on what time they form. But that's our typical pattern as we head into June. All right, so let's go on into, let's see, that's for Thursday. All right, here's Thursday afternoon. If you notice, there's no strong lift at all here across Oklahoma. Some of the earlier model data from the Sunday and Monday had indicated maybe some isolated stuff popping up. We'll have to see, though. You got to get something that kind of comes in off the top of this ridge, kind of rides over the top. Sometimes that can happen. The models won't see it till the day of. But here's Thursday afternoon. So you can see there is some indication of some lift showing up there. All right, let's go on into Friday. Same idea. Ridge still stays out here, anchored across New Mexico. We have all this energy that rides up over it and then comes back down. So we'd have some more instability and little ripples in the jet stream that will come through for the weekend. And we'll detail that coming up later on. If you read my blog, actually, there's a pretty good signal coming, I think, from Sunday is what it was. All right, so let's focus back in here locally. The models don't have a lot of lift tonight. It's kind of an elevated warm front situation that would get those storms to go. But by tomorrow, like I said, we have that brighter red color, which indicates better lift here in the mid-levels as well in the atmosphere. And there's some highlights there where the storms kind of erupt. You can see the indication here very strongly by the midnight hour tomorrow. Those move on off. And then, let's see here. What do we have? So there's Thursday. See little red areas out west. So there's a little bit of that mid-level lift. Not much. There we go. There's some more for Thursday evening. So it might just be mostly a panhandle thing for Texas and Oklahoma. It might be something way up in northwest Oklahoma with that little pattern. And let's see. Then there's Friday, some residual lift here. So like I said, there might be a squeeze out an isolated shower storm or two. Nothing widespread and should not be like we've been experiencing. Let's take a look here at the forecast map for tomorrow. This is the dew point map. See these pinkish, well, what color is this? What color would you call that? You go from purple to, I don't know. It's one of those fancy colors. My brain's not working to figure out what it is. Mauve or something. I don't know. Point being is, these are 80 dew points. 80, 81. When I told you I wasn't ready for that, that's nasty. So these 81 dew points, you can't even breathe with this stuff. This is just gross. Anyway, it's coming in over Dallas and across the Red River. So it's invading us from the south. It has invaded Oklahoma and the southern counties. And it wraps up here to Lawton. The reason why it's wrapping up to Lawton is because we have a little surface low forming right here. It's basically a little bit of a triple point. We have a surface trough that kind of extends, extrudes from there into southern and central Kansas. And then kind of on the back end side, if you want to call it a little weak front that comes in, these little triple points. Sometimes there's not a huge difference in temperature sometimes, but you get a little bit difference in what's either on the other side of moisture or dryness, for example. But you do get a dry line that does show up down here, and so you get much drier air in this fashion. Where, for example, dew points down here into the 40s and 30s. So that feels great, man. That's a dry day. But over here in the 80s or upper 70s, that's just nasty. But the point being is, this little area of convergence for both the surface low is a hot spot to get thunderstorms to fire up, and also just any boundary. So this right here will be a convergence boundary as well. Now, interesting is, when we look at the model output, depending on which model it is, one model favors this spot and the other model favors this spot. So we'll blend the two and say, you know what, it's all fair game, because in reality it is all fair game. All right, let's take a look at temperatures in combination with that moisture. Dew point values, when they're that high and you get temperatures that are into the 90s or so, the wind chill, well, this is a wind chill / heat index map, but the heat index with that, 112, 113, feels like 115 degrees tomorrow down there in Wichita Falls. I'm just not ready, man. I'm telling you, McAllister's going to feel like 102 down here in Sherman, 110, Paris, 109, Plano, Dallas, Fort Worth, about 110. Now, just so you know, a heat index is not the actual temperature of the day. It's the temperature plus the humidity that's involved. So it is a temperature how your body would perceive it. In other words, how easy is it for your body to cool down. That's what your body would feel like. So it's going to feel hotter than it actually is basically what that boils down to. Now, when you do have those ridiculous heat index values, that indicates you have a lot of CAPE, because CAPE is pure instability, which is a function of those temperatures and the dew points. And you get CAPE values here around 6,000 plus joules. I mean, that is nonsense. Now, the highest I've ever seen CAPE values in reality is like the low 7,000s. I can't recall. If I have, it slipped my memory. But that's still the problem. The deal is it's so much instability that any storm that can go up in that environment goes up hard and fast and gets ugly quick, usually when it comes to damaging wind and hail. Now also, if you've noticed on this map, let's see, we have our little triangles. See this little red barb here to the southeast, here's a blue one to the southwest, and here's one kind of the west-northwest. So in other words, that is a lot of shear. That's a lot of turning with height. The difference is the wind speed is a little weak, but this time of year that does happen. Now in this particular case, this model favors 20, 25 to 30 knots. Now, believe it or not, for summertime, that's not terribly weak. You can get away with that and actually get a tornado. And so therefore the hazard type is for a tornado because we have extreme CAPE. This model actually has surface-based CAPE if we were to hit a temperature down here of 99 degrees, which won't happen. Let's see, if we did, it would have a forecast surface CAPE of 8,000 joules. All right, it's off the chart stupid. But regardless, even the surface temperature into right around the low 90s or upper 80s, it still has surface CAPE over 7,000 joules per kilogram. So that is ridiculous instability out here across southwest Oklahoma for that triple point area. We have a ship model of a 4.1. Anything over 2 indicates large hail over 2 inches in diameter. And then we've got even a wind damage indicator as well. And you have our lapse rates, 9.1 degrees per kilometer, Celsius per kilometer. So that means some gigantic hail. That's just nasty. So these thunderstorms should be pretty gross for Tuesday afternoon. I'm seeing gross a lot, both from the storms, from what comes out of them, and from the wind and the hail and the heat. Ugh. Now, not everybody's going to see storms, thank goodness, but those that do, there might be some big ones, especially in this little quadrant of the state. What about up here? If those storms are far along that boundary, just north of Oklahoma City, move on through, they're still going to be significant. The wind's probably a little lighter, though, in that area. CAPE value's a tad bit lower, but really not consequential. Hail model's still pretty high indicators, so there'll still be some big storms there too. All right, so let's take a look at how things will go. And if you did read my blog on Sunday, I had alluded to that the models are not all that helpful sometimes this time of the year as we transition into summer. So case in point, here's our WRF model for tonight. This had some storms firing off around that old triple point in northwest Oklahoma here this evening. Should have already happened 2 hours ago, and it has those moving through Oklahoma City and North Texas or North Oklahoma right now. Well, obviously that's not happening, so this model is out to lunch. Now overnight doesn't do anything, produces no storms. Okay, what about tomorrow? At least it does know there's a boundary there, and it has it firing right just north of Oklahoma City, for example. These are all little red lines or helicity tracks, which indicates where you have enough mid-level circulation for the large hail and damaging winds. All right, that moves on through that cluster for tomorrow night and finally out of the state. All right, so at least it's got that in its wheelhouse. All right, so let's take a look at our 3-kilometer NAM and the HER, and we'll call it. So for tonight, there's an indication of some stuff already trying to build up here, just north of Oklahoma City to Stillwater to Tulsa, around 11 o'clock, and there's noon or midnight. More storms down around McAllister, southeast Oklahoma, and northeastern Texas. Those kind of stay in that little corridor, and they kind of expand in coverage. Now, if you notice, this particular model kind of keeps most of this stuff just east of Oklahoma City. Doesn't bring it into town. Keeps it eastbound, kind of anchored on I-40 up around the Tulsa area through early tomorrow morning. And then it backdoors just in time for your drive time to work tomorrow at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning over the I-35 corridor. So again, we might see some pretty heavy thunderstorms. And, of course, that can mean some brief flash flooding this time of the year. Otherwise, those storms at 8 o'clock in the morning kind of die down here in Oklahoma City, but they continue down along the Red River into southeastern Oklahoma, and then they move on out. Okay, then, what do we do for tomorrow afternoon? Let's rebound things. 6 o'clock magic, thunderstorm cluster builds up here around Lawton. Again, this is that favorite area of just extreme instability, and those storms just blow up quick from 5 to 6 to 7, just a big line of storms. Looks like starting our beginning stages of our next mesoscale convective complex. That moves through the southern half of Oklahoma, expands northward to Oklahoma City at 8 o'clock, and then that even gets some undue addition on that other little surface feature across the I-35 corridor up north in southern Kansas. Otherwise, this little activity moves southward toward Dallas-Fort Worth. Line of storms. Again, some of these will be some damaging winds within this, up to 80 miles per hour. Also, again, the brief flash flooding, lots of lightning. and some hail. Same thing with this stuff up here around the Ponca City area, up in northeastern Oklahoma. 11 o'clock, still going. There's midnight hour, still some leftover stuff here in central Oklahoma tomorrow, northeast Oklahoma as well. And then overnight for Tuesday night, starts to move out of the state, continues on down to North Texas for Dallas, etc. Now they're still dealing with some power outage issues down there from the last storm. They've had a rough go of it in the Metroplex lately. All right, now let's see here. I think I did have Dallas as a zoomed in location to kind of show you. Let's see here. Let's go to, by the way, it did have a few storms around your area tonight. Mostly quiet though. And then let's go into 11 o'clock in the morning. That tail end falls apart for you. And then here's your afternoon, evening activity. There's 9 and 10 o'clock. It starts to approach Fort Worth and then goes on through before midnight. And then continues through midnight on into about 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. Still more storms for another wave that goes on for 3 and 4. Let's see, through 5 and 6. So I'm just curious how much rainfall that is. Let's see what this model seems to think can fall out of both of those complexes in that short period of time. So Dallas-Fort Worth, it has about 2.5 inches of rain, maybe up to 3. So you can get some flash flooding for sure in parts of the metro down here that is prone to flooding. All right, so let's go back here to Oklahoma City, and we'll do an Oklahoma State for the remainder of tonight, tomorrow with the HER model. So this model develops this stuff about the same area, but also backdoors it to the west more to at least cover parts of central Oklahoma. Here's 2 o'clock in the morning, so there's 3. You can see the intense cores within this on the data output. 4 o'clock in the morning, there's 5, there's 6, and there's 7. So the difference between this model and the other one is it doesn't backdoor in Oklahoma City. It has to give us a little taste early in the event. Otherwise, it keeps it all east. Tulsa gets in on the action. The rest of southeast Oklahoma continues through the morning hours for your daybreak. Some big hail cores with a lot of these. Looks like in the model data output, there's 9 o'clock still storming up in Tulsa, so some flash flooding for you according to this model. About noontime, all that stuff's out of here. And then we've got the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What happens? There we go, 6 o'clock. So now this model fires off that surface boundary action here just north and west of Oklahoma City, stretching from a line from around Enid. Oh, looks like back down to just west of El Reno and Weatherford area. That goes back down to just around the Lawton region, about 8 o'clock, just north of you guys. Otherwise through the Oklahoma City metro. As we head from 8 to 9, these little white areas, those are forecasted DBZ values up around 70. Now, just so you know, this little chart down here at the bottom is what the radar output would look like that we're customary to seeing. If you see DBZ values of 70 on a map, that's usually hail size, golf ball size, or larger. So the model seems to think we'll have plenty of big hailstones mixed in. And I know the roofers are loving the weather this year because we've been getting hailstorm after hailstorm, pockets of damaging wind. So I know my boys over there at Ferguson Roof Systems, they're probably crying uncle. So, but call them if you get more hail. They'll treat you right. So there's 9 o'clock. There's 10 o'clock. All right. There's 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Then that squall line moves to the east. Now the output is different from the other one as far as Dallas-Fort Worth is concerned. You can see how it kind of keeps across Oklahoma through 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And then when it does finally move into northeast Texas, it just basically just kind of misses Dallas-Fort Worth altogether. So that's what I was telling you earlier. We kind of have 2 different models. And honestly, I would blend the 2 because they're both right for different reasons and they're both wrong for different reasons. I would just go ahead and cover all those areas that we talked about. So if I were to draw it for you on a map, something like this, we're talking about the zone that would be like this down here. This whole area would be for storms for Tuesday, starting in the afternoon, along this area, and then those would move to the south and east. And as far as the morning stuff goes, again, we like this area here, and I like it to include Oklahoma City and this region here. So the bulk of it for tomorrow morning. So there's your 1 and then your 2. All right. Rainfall amounts, like we mentioned, you can get some serious flooding situations real quick. So the data does output up around 5 to 5.5 inches in this little area here in southeast Oklahoma. There's a 6-inch reading. Same thing for northeast Texas. There's 7 inches east of Paris, 8 inches even on the map. My goodness. Otherwise, it's feast or famine, because then if you get no storms, obviously, then you don't get much of action at all. So this is that time of year. If you do get storms, they're heavy rainmakers. All right, so temperatures for tomorrow and Wednesday here in Oklahoma City are going to be up around the 9-degree zone. Obviously, much hotter in southwest Oklahoma. You're going to see mid to upper 90s down there. Let's see, and then we've got. I'm curious if it's got 100 on there. Let me go back. I'm gonna go back and look at the map for tomorrow. I'm gonna see how hot it gets in that far southwest section of the state. Otherwise, it's just whatever. It is what it is. You just gotta smile. That's it. You just gotta smile. Let's see. Boy, this looks good. 63 degrees. That's a cool spell. That's June 12th. And some mid-80s. How about that? This looks lovely from this point to this point. I'll take it. The rest of it, it is what it is. All right, let me look real quick at the heat. Let's see, for the actual air temperatures. We looked at the heat index, right, down here in southwest Oklahoma. Let me see what the model does for actual temperatures down here to see how hot it's going to get. All right, so it likes light at 94, and it likes 103, 104 down along the far Red River. Counties along the Red River up about 100 degrees plus. So there you go. I figured there'd be some hundreds down there. All right, there you have it. So that's what I got for you. Hope that was fun, educational. I'm gonna look at the radar real quick. Do I see any storms? What do I have here? Hold on. Let me see something. I gotta look, because it can either be storms or it can be radar bending, where the beam ducks and it gives you like false echoes. Sometimes that can happen, but let me see. No, these are moving. Oh, we got some rain. It's already starting. There you go, right there, and even over here for you guys in Tulsa. Look at that. So the storms have begun. So 10 o'clock window. Boy, that was right on time, wasn't it? So anyway, so these storms, and it looks like since they are developing, look at a couple other things. Yeah. So it looks like the western fringe of it is around Canute, Elk City, Foss, and then it comes out here toward Weatherford and Hinton, and then we'll see some more stuff develop from that onward. And then up here, we also had a few showers around, looks like Coweta, and up around southwest Tulsa as well. All right, so again, these, as they develop, will end up being some hail makers and maybe pockets of damaging winds. You're going to hear some rough thunderstorms in here, looks like over central Oklahoma for tonight. Maybe take to 11 o'clock or midnight, maybe. But some of you folks are going to get probably woken up just as you go back to sleep and go, I was sleeping so good there for 10 minutes. Then those storms hit. Anyway, so there you go. That's what's already underway. So we took that in the forecast and we were good. For those folks that joined me at lunchtime today, you were in for a treat. Apparently Facebook turned on some option with the stars that you can send. And apparently you can make me do the weather with a cat face or a mouse face or whatever type of options that they had. Now, I don't know how all that works. I just know that I wasn't expecting it. So when I was doing the weather and I was trying to talk about what was going to happen, I lost my entire train of thought because I thought I had done something. I thought, I'd pressed something on my phone or a filter by accident or whatever. I was like, what is that? And so it completely wrecked my whole brain. But we got through it, and then you guys had some fun with it because once you realized what you could do, you kept putting it back on there. I told Jody, I said, that's funny, when you're just goofing around, you're doing regular weather. I said, that would not be good whenever you're doing tornado coverage. That would be considered trolling. That would not be a time to do it. There's a right time, there's a wrong time. That would be a wrong time. But the noon time was fine. This will be fine. I don't know if it's going to work in this fashion. I don't know if I have to be like on my phone to do it for that to work. Your guess is as good as mine. Some new feature that they turned on. Jody said it's like a TikTok thing or something that looks like they copied. So everybody, at least platforms, everybody copies everybody, from what I understand. And as far as TikTok goes, I thought it was supposed to be CCP, Chinese propaganda, and it was dangerous. It was a threat to democracy, and it's going to ruin all of our voting and our kids' outcome, and it was going to turn us all, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, all the politicians are on it, and they're all running for office, and they all want their vote. So I'm like, well, which was it? Is it dangerous, or are you going to use it as a tool to manipulate and get votes? They'll ban it after they use it and abuse it. I just laughed. I'm like, our society is so stupid. It's like, I don't listen to anything anymore. Everything's a lie, and everybody's a liar. And that's how I go through my day, and I sleep just fine. I don't have to worry about the truth, because there ain't no truth. Then I don't have to worry about it. I'm like, oh, I don't have to get upset anymore. So once I realize everything's a lie, it's easy. So anyway, I tell you the truth here, though. You can count on me for that. So if you do want a place you get pure truth when it comes to the weather, I got you covered. All right, that's enough of that silliness. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I don't plan to be staying up late to do this coverage, so if you do wake up and you get those storms going, just know I'm going to sleep right through it, and if it's hail and if it's wind, well, I'll wake up and see what happens when I get up. Jody might wake up a little bit. She's a light sleeper when it comes to storms. Me, it doesn't bother me at all. Now, if I hear a tornado siren, I'm going to jump up real quick, but I don't expect that to happen. And then, let's see, what else? Oh, but tomorrow, we might have a little bit of a tornado threat tomorrow. So with those storms that do develop in the late afternoon and evening. So I'll keep a track on that, and if so, I'll do some live coverage for those. And I'll update you also around noontime tomorrow for another Facebook Live. You can put some ears on me or whatever, and then we'll see how that threat looks for the rest of our Tuesday and Tuesday night. No, she doesn't. Let's see. I'll ask a few questions. I'm all wrapped up for the weather. So let me read a few of your comments, because I know sometimes I don't get to do that a lot during the spring, because it's always so much to talk about, and it's all serious mostly this time of the year. Desiree says, you go in these schools and speak. I get asked that a lot, and honestly, my day job, I just can't afford it. I can't do it. So I work for the federal government during the day, so I'm barely even on or even outside of the realm of that office work. So unfortunately I can't do that, but I do appreciate you asking. Chris, the storms are already starting now, so over the next couple of hours they'll just expand in coverage and get larger. So I would expect by midnight we should be having thunder and lightning all around Oklahoma City metro area, at least hearing it in the background, kind of a deal. Let's see what else. Joni's over it. She's ready for summer. David, tornado outbreak tomorrow. I would hope not. Let's see. Yep, Larry, you're on it. All right. Okay. Yep, Kevin, you guys are on it. All right, let me check YouTube. By the way, if you guys on Twitter X and on Rumble ever want to chime in, Jody and I do have those chat windows open, so you can pop in there and ask a question if you want. On X, it has verified only, so I guess only if you have a verified account. It looks like, are you allowed to chat on those live feeds? Rumble, I think anybody can just do it. But as you guys get more accustomed to those two platforms, you can chime in. Let's see. So Robert, tornadoes in Tulsa tomorrow. Doubtful. By the time they would get to you, it would be later. Cat builds in. May not be surface based. All that kind of stuff. They're probably more likely in central Oklahoma and southern Oklahoma. Kind of where they start. From about where they start for the next couple hours after that, like 9 o'clock. Penelope and Larry. I know we need to start showing Penelope and Larry more. Jody made a video of Penelope and put it on TikTok, and she goes, "Here, you should put that on your page, because that way people can get the Penelope fix." Every now and then she does do something really cute when she's not picking on Larry. She's actually calmed down a little bit. She actually wasn't feeling good last night. We think she licked a frog before bed. And if you guys know, when you lick the toads, it's not a good thing, right? Well, for whatever reason, Yorkies love attacking these frogs and playing with them. And Larry did it once last year sometime. He didn't do that again. And he wasn't in good shape. And I guess she did it last night. We didn't know it. Jody said there was something in the grass that she saw her messing with, but she didn't go to investigate, so it must have been another frog. Anyway, so Yeah, man, poor girl. She's foaming at the mouth. It was a mess. I almost have to go to the vet. It can be dangerous from what I hear. But anyway, she made it all right. She feels good. She's up and around today. So she shook it off. Y'all want some naders? Who's asking me that? Larry, do you prefer Radar Scope or Radar Omega? I like them both for different reasons, and I wish both had other things. So when I do my, Jenny, no, there's not a big tornado threat tonight. It's a big hail threat, though. So if you have some cars outdoors and you do get some of those 2-inch hailstones, that'll do some damage. Just heads up. Chris, thank you for the stars, by the way. So when I do my weather coverage, I end up using four radar programs, honestly, because I like each one for different reasons. And so I multitask by using all of them all at once. I just flip through so many different times because I'm analyzing stuff on the fly. And so and each one will have something that I want to see different or may do something a little bit better than the other. So it's a lot to do, but that's how I cover storms, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Because sometimes you'll have different data comes in at different time and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, Kevin. Yeah, they were going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch once the storm started going. They were waiting. The Storm Prediction Center said they would wait till the storm was fired, and if they did, then they would issue the watch. So looks like you said the watch was issued. So let's see here. It must have just gone up on the coordinates. Speaking of which, these storms are still struggling. This one out here, it's got a little lightning with it now around Foss. These other guys are still kind of not doing much yet. So it's still early, but I do expect some storms to get going here as we head to the overnight periods. So you'll know it. You'll wake up when the lightning and the thunder start in your neck of the woods. As far as the watch box, let's see, where was I? Now, watch isn't out yet from Storm Prediction Center as far as the coordinates go. They would have it here on this map and the outline of what's in it. So they have a flood watch here in green. Oh, there's this little outline. So it looks like the Weather Service is faster than the Storm Prediction Center, which is funny. But anyway, so there's your little watch area there. So that covers Stillwater, Chandler, Muskogee, Oklahoma City, Chickasha, etc., Watauga. Let's see if it has details on the watch when you click on this one. It does not. Lame. Let's go over here. Yeah, they don't even have a write-up yet. So in other words, sometimes it takes a while. Like the system that they do will do an aerial outline first, and then they go in and they chop off which counties they don't want, and then you have the wording that comes out. So a watch doesn't come out all at once with everything together. It's like comes out little individual pieces, and then eventually then it's all fine and done. But yeah, when the Storm Prediction Center gets the final version out after they converse with the National Weather Service, then this thing, they'll have a little graphic up here with what's in it. But anyway, so there you go. Megan, so this time of the year, it's a low tornado threat versus like a medium or high. Where'd you get your degree from? From Texas A&M University. So that's where I got mine from. So back when I was in school for that, there were 3 top schools for that program. It was Texas A&M, Penn State, and OU. And there were other smaller schools, but those were the big ones. So I was born and raised in Dallas, and I was looking at OU and Penn State, and then I looked at the cost of tuition, and I looked at how much I'm paying, and I went, I'd go to Texas A&M in-state tuition. And so there you go. That's how I ended up doing it, and it was fun. I had a great time down there, and they had a good radar program at the time. I got my hands dirty on that, so that's what got me started in radar meteorology, believe it or not. And that's ended up working out because I ended up using that in my career for television. And then when I went to work, when I wanted to get out of that, because I got tired of it, basically, and I want to try something different, which you're allowed to do. You're allowed to change your career path a little bit. You get bored, or you just want a different challenge. I looked at my boss at the time, Rick. I said, man, can you see yourself doing this for another 20, 30 years? I said, I can't. I need something else. He goes, I don't know, man. That's what I know to do. And then he goes to Dallas, and I get out. I said, well, I'm out of here. Peace. And then I end up coming back in this form, do something completely different, which is actually a lot better because I got to create it, and I got to be my boss. So it worked out both ways. But anyway, point being is then I got to work for the government on weather radars. So it actually really worked out. So I got to take all that knowledge and stuff I learned from college, which a lot of it was, even though there's just one class for radar meteorology, as the student, you get to decide how invested you want to be, right? I mean, if you want to sleep, breathe, and do weather, that's the time to do it. So I volunteer for everything when it comes to research projects and stuff because I wanted to learn. I thought it was cool. So that obviously is what helped me in that field, which, if you'd asked me where you see yourself 20 years from now, I'm not going to know that answer. But I do know where I am today, and I'm taking advantage of the opportunity I'm given, and I'm going to be a sponge, right? And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, you fast forward 10, 15, 20 years, and hey, look at that. I got a job that is all because of what I did way back then. So my advice is, if your son is to be a sponge and learn everything. While all the kids, the business kids, your business can be like, yeah, I know. Yeah, man, y'all would party all the time. I'm like, y'all even have real degrees? We're the ones going to the lab and all this group homework that we have to do every freaking night and on the weekends. And you guys are all going to the parties. I'm like, well, I got to study, or I got this to do. I got this to do. But yeah, so basically be a sponge. Stay away from all that other stuff. You can all do that later, after you get the job. If you want to do it like a few times just so you can make sure that you're can assimilate with people and you can learn to interact with your peers, that's good for that, right? But just a little goes a long way in that. You don't need a party like a rock star and throw your school away for that. So that's dumb. So what I would do is hunker down, throw everything you've got for your brain into that educational environment while you have it. Because if you don't, it's a waste, and you've wasted an opportunity that nobody hardly gets to get. And honestly, in this day and age, I don't know how anybody can even afford college. I barely could afford it, and that was back in the mid-'90s. And I was coming out with a little bit of debt too after that I had to pay off. It took years to do that. So forget it today. I don't know how anybody affords anything. The economy's so jacked up, but that's a whole other topic that I'm not even about to get into. Here's a look at that watch. I finally got it posted on the Storm Prediction Center. So it has some questions. So for example, when they talk about tornadoes, the likelihood, if you can see that, it says very low on that. Severe wind, moderate. 65 knots of wind, low. Severe hail, high. 2-inch size hail or higher, moderate. So there you go. So they're talking about a severe wind and a moderate severe wind category and a moderate large hail category to severe hail, high category. All right, if you want to get the specifics on this, it's a severe thunderstorm watch for central and eastern Oklahoma, effective until 5 a.m. Scattered large hail likely with isolated very large hail events to 2.5 inches in diameter possible. Scattered damaging wind gusts to 70 miles per hour possible. Scattered storms are expected to form and track across the watch area through the overnight hours. Large hail is a primary threat, although damaging winds may also become a concern later tonight. And that's usually as you get a squall line that forms, as it gets mature, that's when that transition occurs. You switch one for the other. You switch the hail for the damaging wind. The severe thunderstorm watch area is blah, 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 blah. Basically over central Oklahoma. And that's pretty much it. So, not a tornado watch, just a severe thunderstorm watch. Let's see. For example, you say, like, what's the probability of the tornado tonight? Probability of the tornado is low, less than 5%. So that's pretty low. Let's see here. Wind, moderate, about 50%. And hail, probability of 10 or more severe hail events, high, 70%. Probability of 1 or more hailstones greater than 2 inches in diameter, moderate, 40%. Combined severe hail and wind, probability of 6 or more combined severe hail and wind events, high, greater than 95%. In other words, if it's going to storm, you're going to have hail and wind in the storms. So there you go. All right, we hemmed and hawed a little bit longer for that watch information to come out, and that's about it. So you guys, again, have a great night tonight. Be safe. Hopefully you don't get the big hail at your house. If you do, call my friend Jamie Ferguson over at Ferguson Roof Systems. They will come out and give you an estimate and do you right and let you know if you did get significant hail damage that requires a new roof before you file with your insurance. And that's it for me. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great night, and we will talk again tomorrow. See ya.